Hello again and welcome back to Some Climbing News. Got a big show for you all today, so sit back, relax, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff before we get started, but otherwise, let's get into it. And starting us off today, Noah Wheeler, you sly dog, you had me monologuing this past Friday. Dude sent Bertone 2 tries after his big dab to what honestly probably should be absolutely not a single soul surprise ever, like ever. Okay, Noah Wheeler's the king of board climbing. You give this dude a climb like Bertone and well, 2 trips, about 7 sessions in total in back conditions, and he still gives us a send and a half. The half being that bit where he did it, but also didn't because he dabbed. Fastest send of Bertone ever, if I'm not mistaken. So there is actually quite a bit to unpack here. I got to speak with Noah, just slid into his DMs the other day, and he was kind enough to honor the show with a lot of very interesting thoughts. So I'm gonna paraphrase, because yeah, but here's his direct quote for anyone that wants to read it. Essentially, the dude was able to do every single one of the 4 moves on Bertone at about a 50% success rate within his first session. He can see how this boulder might feel basically impossible to anyone else who had or might have had a lower success rate on any of those moves after working those moves for an extended amount of time. And he's basically tried to contextualize his own subjective experience on this thing with what he's seen from other top level climbers and what he knows to be his strengths and weaknesses. In conclusion, well, Noah is the strongest at this sort of style in the world, and while he found this thing to be easier for him than something like Shaolin, he believes that Bertone should be considered anywhere between soft 9AV17 to benchmark 9AV17 if we were to understand the idea of a benchmark to be like right smack dab in the middle of what V17 is supposed to be in terms of difficulty. Also, all with the the new drop knee beta and all of that stuff taken into consideration. Essentially, well, from what I have gathered from talking to him, Noah is giving V17 9A for this boulder by taking not only his own experience on it, but the experience of everyone else that he has seen and spoken to in order to give the grade that he believes is most fitting for all climbers, not just himself. He seems to think that, for example, while he personally had a harder time sending Shaolin, that Bertone is, or potentially could be considered more difficult by most other climbers, given how specialized he personally is at board styles. So it's kind of like a contradictory little ditty, but also not necessarily given his way of thinking about this stuff being grades. And well, yeah, honestly, I think he's right. Individual style is something incredibly important to consider whenever you grade any sort of climb, be at the top level, lower level, mid level, whatever of climbing. It's important to know where your strengths and weaknesses lie in relation to others and how those strengths and weaknesses might affect or even totally shape the way you personally perceive the difficulty of a boulder or a route or whatever it is that you're climbing. In a way, it's kind of the opposite of what Daniel Woods did with something like Hypnotized Minds, right? Like Noah considering the fact that other people are not going to find this boulder as easy as he did. Daniel Woods, on the other hand, straight up not giving a damn and thinking that Hypnotized Minds is 100% an 8CV15 and absolutely not a grade harder as everyone else seems to believe. Or at least that seems to be the case. I don't know. I haven't actually talked to Daniel. He won't fucking answer my DMs. God damn it. Why? Yeah, me from the future. It turns out Daniel Woods actually did upgrade Hypnotized Minds, and I'm an idiot. So, the example that I used doesn't freaking work, but yeah, it is what it is. Back to the video, my bad. Anyways, now, the only other thing I really want to talk about is the stack pads debacle. Apparently important enough so that it was addressed by the people interviewing Noah on Ada.nu, or enough of a thing that there'd be people talking about it on his Instagram post, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't see the issue with Noah specifically. Like, okay, look, maybe you don't know all of this, but there's been just a little bit of a controversy over the years surrounding the validity of the start of some of the sends for Bertone of Dreams, particularly those of Elias Iagnemma and Simon Lorenzi, who sent the boulder at a time when the landing had been, let's say, conveniently raised more than a few centimeters. Look, here's a comparison of Elias and Simon on the left with Will Bosey and Aidan Roberts on the right. Very clearly, Elias's hips are far higher and his arms are almost completely bent. Simon's hips are also higher, but not quite as egregiously so as Elias. And then both Aiden and Will are just straight up on the floor. If you look at Noah's, basically the same thing as Will and Aiden, at least in my opinion. Also, kind of like the same as Makoto Yamauchi and Sung-Soo Lee, which makes sense because like the raised platform that had been created was taken away. And look, in case you don't know, yes, raising your hips a bunch will undoubtedly, absolutely make the first move of any climb, not just burden, easier. But it just doesn't seem to be the case for Noah or any of the recent peeps. It's just these two. This whole thing is kind of iffy. Also, by the way, yes, Nale does pull on with just one foot and then places the second. Nale is shorter and has a negative ape index, which could probably be why he chose to do the boulder that way. Ultimately, seems that Noah also addressed this, and he said he didn't think it made much of a difference. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I don't know, man. People seem to be wanting to yell at Noah for no reason. And yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that Noah didn't do the boulder with Nale's beta as well, because he probably freaking could have. He's that good at this style. But it is what it is, I guess. Anyways, huge congratulations to Noah Wheeler on the ascent. 3 9As so far for him, and leaving Burden tied with Alphane for the second most repeated 9A, 7 total ascents. Just one behind Return of the Sleepwalker, which has 8, and I can do basic math. So proud of myself. Next, let's talk about some other stuff. So, Hamish McArthur is in Squamish for the summer, it seems, and yeah, guy's in pretty good run of form, as is one to be expected from Hamish. Dude has so far sent 2 boulders at approximately 8C V15 and has now just added another FA to his pyramid. This thing, Flower of Sulphur. Seems Hamish is committed to his whole tilde thing, which I am 100% all about. So yeah, it's more or less 8C plus V16 proposed here, which is just kind of annoying for me personally, because it's yet another thing that changes the 8C plus ranking that I've been working on. And yes, I am still working on it, but it's fine. It's honestly, it's fine. Not gonna lie, it's kind of great because it bumps up the number from 68 to 69, which you know, the immature child in me thinks that's hilarious. Listen, if there can be dick jokes in Shakespeare, there can be dick jokes in some climbing news. Not that I consider myself anywhere near Shakespearean or even talented enough to even begin to call myself that, but I just, you know, I really like the excuse. Anyways, I have not all that much to tell you guys about this boulder, unfortunately. Hamish, in very Hamish style, decided to write a poem about trying to be nicer to one another as opposed to a description of his experience climbing this thing, so I am going to do my best to not be the kind of person that's dead inside and say instead, fuck yeah, be nicer to people, you goddamn bastards. Hamish is right. I might have fucked that one up already. I really am just a terrible human, aren't I? Nothing we can do about that one. Anyways, seems that Hamish's mindset is shifting somewhat in kind of like a similar way to Aiden Roberts' mentality has shifted over the years. Aiden has frequently mentioned on the Careless Talk that he's often more or less isolated himself whilst in the pursuit for climbing perfection, perhaps also Hamish's previous personal preference. Alliteration aside, Aiden seems to believe that doing so has benefited him quite a bit, so maybe we'll be seeing an even more leveled up Hamish McArthur, a prospect that I personally find both absolutely terrifying and terrifyingly exciting. Like, seriously, we cannot forget that we're talking about a dude that set No One Mourns the Wicked in 45 goddamn minutes. Can you imagine what he could do if he actually felt supported in life? Insane. What the fuck? I don't really know where that came from. Anyways, massive congratulations to the man. Here's to hoping he continues finding cool problems in Squamish and honestly the world. FAs are not a side we've seen very much of from Hamish, so I'm very excited to see what comes in the future. And also, like, by the way, we can't forget here, because I think it's really, really easy to do so, because 8C plus V16 has pretty much been forgotten completely, but this is probably the second, if not the absolute hardest boulder problem in Squamish, which coincidentally also makes it the hardest, or at least second hardest, in freaking Canada, Event Horizon being the other one. Like, yeah, this is a pretty low-key post. It's just a couple of photos. There's no video, no nothing. But, like, make no mistake, this is absolutely cutting-edge stuff. And seeing how much of a freakishly strong human being Hamish McArthur is, like, this thing could very well be even harder. I don't know, man. It's, like, we should all be like freaking out because it's awesome. I'm trying to make V16 cool again. Making an effort. Let's move on. Right now, let's talk about Elias Iagnemma's latest project. Apparently a boulder just a few kilometers. Well, he says below Exodia, but I'm not sure if he means like directly south or if he's talking like actual vertical, which seems like a lot. As I understand it, Exodia is supposedly pretty high up there, so actually anything could be possible. Location aside, this thing is apparently freaking nails. A few hard moves of unspecified difficulty lead to a stopped single move crux that Elias is saying he believes is the absolute hardest move that he's ever done. A single move 8B/8B plus or V13/14 that leads straight into a single move 8A plus boulder. Plug that into Darth Grader with an intro sequence of about 8A. The result is basically 9A/plus or V17/18. So, I mean, that is, of course, if the moves that Elias calls hard are just V11, which, you know, we're talking about really, really strong climbers, so potentially even freaking harder. This might very well be one of, if not the hardest boulder problems in the entire world. I don't know what to say. I do know what to say. Look, besides the actual difficulty, let's talk about the aesthetics of the line first. You guys know by now I'm kind of psyched on the idea of boulders and climbs next to bodies of water, and there's a river right there. Just makes it objectively better. Freaking love it. It's awesome. Looks like some pretty high quality granite too, or some such, and well, at the very least, just a little more pretty than Exodia for sure, which is known to be kind of a stinker. Also easier access potentially, so maybe if this gets done, there will be a higher chance that someone will, want to go give it some goes potentially. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but Elias is kind of a controversial figure at the moment. I'm not personally saying absolutely anything about whether or not his ascents are as hard as he believes that they are, but it is a fact that most of the hard things that he has done have been first ascents. I mean, we already talked about the fact that the first move on Burden for him was kind of iffy, a lot higher up relatively. His only other 9A is also still an untested climb that no one has ever done, and his only other hard boulders that are well known are Joya and Efida, both at 8C+, but only 2 of them. So it's just kind of like, it seems to me that the guy is incredibly strong, but also maybe needs to either A, get another 9A consensus boulder done, like Alphane, or B, have some of the stronger people who have opinions that have been proven, like Adamandra or Wilbozi, for example, get on his FAs and have his sends corroborated. Otherwise, as it stands, there will always still be that like big question mark just kind of looming over his head for most people, I think. I don't know, people just aren't as psyched on his stuff for some reason. As it stands, people seemed somewhat curious about Exodia, but no one that I know of is like definitively psyched on it to the point that they'd like booked a trip or something. I think the aesthetics and the difficulty of access are probably factors. In any case, kind of sick that we might be potentially looking at another incredibly hard project from Elias. Should be cool to see what's what, how long he takes to do this thing. I mean, Exodia was apparently 200 days or something, so this could be a long wait. Next, we got a bunch of hard 8B plus sends from women that I completely missed somehow from a few weeks back when I was trying to unburn out myself. 3 big ones in total. Yeah, did I do that right? I think I did. Actually, 2 from very prominent comp climbers, but basically, we got 1, Anon Matsufuji, who managed to put together a send of Utsushiyo in Japan, and this thing, I mean, it looks freaking hard, like really, really freaking hard. Like, there's boulders that look hilariously easy despite their grade. This one, not one of those boulders. Now, I'm not entirely sure how long Anon took to send this friggin' thing, but I can say that she mentioned how incredibly psyched she was to do it, and the fact that she felt incredible amount of pressure to send, which is not really something we honestly talk about all that much when it comes to pro climbers going from indoor to outdoor, right? Like, yeah, from seeing people like Mejdi or Yanya just absolutely destroy outdoor climbs, we know that comp training and skill absolutely seems to transfer to the outside, but at the same time, the thought that there are certain expectations surrounding how well you're supposed to perform given how your peers do, especially in a field that you haven't really tested yourself in as much, comparatively speaking, I can see that being very, very, very daunting. Either way, it's great stuff from Anon Matsufuji, and now we get to talk about Oriane Bertone, who also has been on a tremendous run of form in the outdoors, just left, right, and center, sending hard-ass boulders in font, unlike me, who can't even begin to do any. This time, she sent Gecko Assis, which is just absolutely classic font, man. Short, just slightly overhung, horrific. Sloper is powerful, yet somehow also technical, all at once. Oriane says it's long viewed as a more masculine boulder, which is true. Powerful sloper compression tends to be viewed as a more man, I man, I squeeze, climb, while I delicate, crimping. It's often seen as more feminine and, yeah, delicate. Cool to see Oriane putting that where it belongs, firmly in the bullshit department. Us dudes can be delicate at times. Some might even say dainty. Some women enjoy hugging fridges. No need to genderize or whatever, something that is definitively not that. So stupid. Anyways, awesome to see those types of weird, archaic, passively sexist, dumbfuckery bullshits get dismantled. Props Oriane for being an absolute beast. And next, delicate crimping from another woman, as is to be expected. What, you thought I was going to be consistent on this show? Of course not. Crimping isn't a dude thing. Everybody knows that. God, if this gets clipped, I'm... God damn it. Marine Thevenet is awesome. She's strong as all hell, and she sent a boulder from my own backyard in La Pedriza. Fotofobia. I've always loved this boulder. I've always wanted to climb this boulder. I don't think I'll ever be strong enough to climb this boulder, and that's probably gonna just be something that I'm gonna have to live with. I don't know. Such is life in the big city. What can you do but live vicariously through one of the strongest women on the planet? This is, if my sources be correct, Marine's 4th AP plus V14 boulder. She's just tearing Spain up because of course she is, and I'm all for it. Fotofobia is rad. FA by Nacho Sanchez is in the description for your viewing pleasure. Go check it out because it's a really cool boulder. Also, it was done by Shauna Coxey, which is also pretty rad. And we finally get photos of Katie Lamb's project and her name. She's called this thing 130 BPM. Like I said in the last video where I talked about this boulder, she's given this thing 8C V15, and honestly, this thing was so freaking sick, so insanely hard too. Her thoughts on the line as outlined in the Careless Climbing Talk podcast are not only very interesting, but also I think quite important. She talks about feeling as though she needs or should climb a certain way or be able to do certain moves in a certain way, and how that is sometimes or even oftentimes a mistake and something that needs to be let go of. Something we kind of see a lot of extrapolated to like a more general public, something a lot of people pitfall into when asking about stuff like, intended beta in terms of like indoor setting, for example. Sometimes correct just means correct for you and not necessarily correct for others. Like, I mean, kind of an extreme example, but just look at Daniel Woods on Defying Gravity, right? Dude's the only person in the world, basically, who sees that boulder and thinks, well, yeah, let me lock off and just bump a horrific 6mm intermediate instead of, let me just jump from these two gigantic holds. In this case, gigantic being super freaking relative, right? So yeah, sometimes the incorrect way for some might be the correct way for you, and it sounds like Katie was having trouble understanding that as an issue for her personally, until she finally got past all of that and sent this incredibly sick boulder. So yeah, huge props to Katie, man. Line looks absolutely mega. I'm so stoked to see it, finally. Oh, so excited. Next, couple of 9A plus 515A routes to talk about, and first up is Luca Bana, with his send and first ascent of Tropico del Capricornio, a rad-looking 40 move power endurance thing on, you guessed it, overhung limestone. Because of course it is. That's like 90% of sport climbing, isn't it? Limestone sucks. It sucks. There, I said it. Limestone is the worst. I don't like it. I never will. The only people that like limestone climbing are the people that have gaslit themselves into thinking that super sharp pockets are fun to hang off of. They're not. Nobody actually likes it. Stop doing it. Doesn't make any sense. Maybe I should make a ranking video for all the rock types. Maybe this channel should just be rankings, and like I'll just stop doing. What am I saying? Anyway, I'm not gonna. I need to finish this segment. Anyways, Luca apparently kept falling on the last few moves on this thing, which makes sense given its power endurance. That, tends to happen. And he did so over and over until one day he didn't. And that day was some 5 odd days ago, more or less. Probably, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, big congrats to Luca on the send, hard grade, second hardest after his FA of a route he called the Master, for which he gave a slash grade of 9A+/B or 515A/B. And yeah, really cool stuff. Go check out his Instagram, all of that good stuff. It's always in the description down below for your viewing pleasure. Next, the other 9A+ we got to talk about, and this time first at the grade for Mael Musson, who has managed a send of Deep Spot, a route first sent by Matsufuji in 2015, and for which this is the first and only repeat, literally 11 years apart, which is pretty wild. And yeah, I just shat on limestone a little bit, but like begrudgingly, I will admit that this thing's got some pretty cool looking tufa things you gotta hold on to. It's pretty rad. It's also 50 degrees overhung for most of its 60-meter length, which is pretty goddamn long. Freaking chilambalam over here. Goddamn. Endurance. Just a whole lot of endurance. Also, anyone curious who doesn't know what the hell I was referencing there, chilambalam, notorious 85-meter long route that needs like 24 quick draws, takes over an hour to be climbed on average, was FA'd and bolted by Bernabé Fernandez in 2003 as one of the hardest routes in the entire world with a grade of 9B+ or 515C at a time when like 9A+ was basically absolute cutting edge. It's like if someone just put up a boulder right now and said, yeah, this thing's V20. Or if we're going roots, I guess 10B? It's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Even more so when it was downgraded later by Adamandra to 9B, and then subsequently to 9A+, where it's more or less stayed. So, yeah. I was making comparisons to the length of the route, not the great controversy, by the way. Anyways, big congrats to Mael Musson on his first ever 9A+. As always, links down below. Go check him out. The route looks actually really, really freaking dope. And then we're going flash time live out here, whatever that could possibly mean. Whatever. There's always big flashing flash moments for grades no one really cares about anymore. Two big ones. Jakob Schubert with an 8B V13 flash of a boulder called Airbag, his 5th ever, if I'm not mistaken, and a first ever flash of an 8B+ V14 boulder problem for Adam Shahar, who, just like Jimmy Webb, managed to flash the Globalist. Flashes are really, really freaking rad to see happen, but also, honestly, kind of goddamn hard to actually talk about in terms of news. I gotta admit, there's really not much to say, right? Like, dude, he did it first go. It's awesome. I'm stoked. I'm really, really super stoked for them, but like, not much story there or anything to give. Like, what's the detail? He tried really freaking hard on his first try. He tried really freaking hard on his first try. Both of them did, and then they did it. It's awesome. But hey, that was some climbing news as always. Thank you for watching, for putting up with me and all of my bullshit, for listening to me talk entirely too much, and for being patient about the fact that I'm now only realizing I've completely forgotten to put the last 2 episodes of the show on Spotify. My bad, guys. Anywho, don't forget to do the YouTube thing, subscribe, like, comment with opinions. I will see you guys by the end of the week. But until then, of course, and as always, go climb some stuff.